Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ms. TV Total Football. Do you know what? It's time to go through some of the other shenanigans, transfer shenanigans that have taken place. Obviously, we talked about some of the most important ones on this channel, but there's been a lot of movement that has happened right at the end on the transfer deadline, and I think it's good to go through exactly where some of these players have landed, and it'll be interesting to have a friendly conversation in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. We're going to kick things off with Jadon Sancho. We've been wondering where Jadon's going to land. There was rumors with Roma, there was rumors with Besiktas. And now he's finally landed in Aston Villa. And the story is with this deal, 80% of Jadon Sancho's wages, Jadon Sancho's salary will be covered for 80% by Aston Villa and 20% by Man United. Loan fee and bonuses are also part of the deal. Look, the bottom line is he simply does not want to let go of his wages. Man United, he's on big money. I've clocked what this player's about. And big up to him for that. A footballer's career is a very small career, right? If you're successful, then you can prolong it a little bit. But if you're not, then if you're on big wages, you best try and keep those big wages. So look, Chelsea offered him 180,000 wages per week, and he declined that because his salary at Man United is a lot higher. As I said, I clocked it. I think this player is all about the money. I won't even be surprised if at the end of this season, he's no longer an Aston Villa player, returns back to Man United, and then Man United tries to find another solution for him elsewhere. Look, eventually, I think he's going to probably move to Turkey because Turkey over there, I don't know what they're doing, some sneaky stuff there. But players seem to make a lot of money, and players seem to go there quite a lot as well. And eventually, I'm pretty sure Saudis, Jadon Sancho will entertain Saudi Arabia, where he's going to mint a lot of money. So Jadon Sancho to Aston Villa. Here we go, and I'm keen to see how Jadon Sancho does at Aston Villa. Aston Villa needs a little bit of firepower, man. They're lacking something this season. They're not looking that great. So maybe after the international break, who knows? Aston Villa are going to kick into gears, and Jadon Sancho could potentially be, a big player for them. Now check this out. Athletic Club are just waiting for formal steps. It's all done, by the way. Emerick Laporte has gone to Athletic Club from Al Nassr. He's made the money at Al Nassr, and now he feels like let's return back to Athletic Club. Let's return back to European levels, and he's going to be in the Champions League. I'm pretty sure is Athletic Club in the Europa League, one of those ones. I think they're in the Champions League actually because they are playing Arsenal. So why not, man? Emerick Laporte has gone back to European football and has joined Athletic Club. Once again, another interesting move. Let's move on to the next topic. Conrad Harder, ladies and gentlemen, is a Leipzig player, was momentarily linked with Chelsea, but ended up going to Leipzig, 30 million package done deal. Leipzig, they've been decimated, obviously. They've lost Sesko, they've lost Openda, they've lost Xavi Simons. They're going to try and build something. And Conrad Harder, he'll be the next one to look out for, because these German clubs, one thing, they know how to produce these scammy, strikers. Well, I don't want to call everyone scam just because, Timo Werner didn't work out for us. There've been other players who've come out from the Bundesliga and actually done well. But, they've got a reputation of building these strikers because the league is so open, wide open. It's very good for the attacking players. So Conrad Harder, let's see if he can make anyone else hard down the track. Exclusive story, Mano Solomon, he's left Spurs and gone to Villarreal. Things, went a bit... the less we talk about, I think, better. This guy, is created a bit of a problem. He created a bit of a problem. Now he's gone to Villarreal. I don't know who Edon Zergova is, so we're not going to talk about that. He's gone to Juventus. We already know our man Nicholas Jackson's gone to Bayern Munich. Sofian Amrabat, once really touted a top midfielder, now has joined Real Betis. Amrabat went to Betis and he's joining after Anthony. Anthony's gone back to Betis as well, and there's an emotional message that Anthony put out. He's really shattered by what has happened at Man United. He's really Seems like there was a lot of depression there. No doubts. Players, they go to Man United, and sometimes they don't end up having the best of times over there. Sofiane Amrabat to Real Betis, Anthony to Real Betis, Harvey Elliott, new Aston Villa player on 35 million deal from Liverpool. Liverpool, look, as much as they've bought a lot of players, they've actually done pretty well in terms of selling. They've sold quite a lot as well, and they've raised quite a lot of money. I think at the end, the net spend is somewhere around 250 million. So close to 500 million in purchasing, but they've sold close to 250 million in selling. So ultimately left with 250 million, approximately around that mark. Harvey Elliott, very talented player. We've seen what he's capable of at Liverpool, and now he joins Aston Villa. Aston Villa needed some firepower. Jadon, Sancho, and Harvey Elliott. Going to be interesting to see Unai Emery after the international break, how Aston Villa starts performing, because if I'm being absolutely honest, they have not done well. Tyreek George, his move collapsed with Fulham. Isak, we all know, was officially announced for Liverpool, and the deal was done 24 hours before that. Check this out. Nottingham Forest signed Alexander Zinchenko from Arsenal after Harvey Galland deal off agreement in place. Arsenal, I saw their sales for this window. It looked pretty pathetic, man. They've spent a lot of money, in excess of 200 million again, and I think they sold only about 10 million worth. Yes, there's some loans involved there. I'm sure they got some loan fee. But Zinchenko to Nottingham Forest, I guess for depth, because Nottingham Forest are going to be in the Europa League, I believe, and Europa League or Conference League, one of those two for sure. I think they're going to be in the Europa League. I believe they're going to be in the Europa League, but correct me in the comment section. And yeah, he's going to be there for depth. Look, ultimately, Ola Aina is the right back. Who's the left back at Nottingham Forest? I don't think Zinchenko is going there to start. I think he's going to be more of a backup. Nottingham Forest agreed. Nottingham Forest have done some smart business. They really have. Nottingham Forest agreed deal to sign Delane Backward from RC Strasbourg, our sister club. Strasbourg, 35 million euros. Why not? We're making money, not just from Chelsea, but from Strasbourg as well. Hector Ford has agreed to loan move from Barcelona to Elche. No buy option. I don't know who Hector Ford is. There you go. Check this out. Arsenal confirmed Piero Hincapié done deal and sealed from Bayer Leverkusen. New centre-back for Arteta. Look, the amount of centre-backs these guys have. There was a picture that was out. I think Magalhaes, Saliba, Calafiori, Timber, Miles Skelly, Lewis Skelly, Miles Lewis Skelly, whatever his name is, do you know what I mean? Hincapié, Ben White, a plethora, the Mosquera guy. They've got a lot of defenders. I don't know what Arteta's trying to cook, but he's cooking with CBs. I think it's very, very simple for Arteta. This guy, I think, is only concentrating on defending, and he knows there's firepower up top, but he's not going out there to demolish teams. I know they took care of Leeds, but when he comes up against quality oppositions, and I'm not saying Leeds are not quality, but they're not upper echelons. It seems like Arteta is just keen to defend as well as possible, make sure it's a clean sheet, and get a sneaky 1-0 victory through a set piece. I don't know why Arteta has turned out to be that type of a manager, but he has. That seems to be the game plan over the last few months, well, at least last season and now moving into this season. Piero Hincapié, I don't know. Maybe he's going to start. Maybe he's not going to start. But they've got a lot of competition just like us. They've got Champions League, they've got Premier League, all of the cup competitions, domestic cup competitions. So, yeah, they're just stockpiling. That is called stockpiling. They tell Chelsea are stockpiling on talent. Arsenal are definitely stockpiling on CBs. There's absolutely no doubts about that. Now, check this out. Marc Guehi. We saw, here we go for Marc Guehi, and then a deal off in literally no time. Now, the issue here is apparently Oliver Glasner threatened to leave Crystal Palace immediately if Marc Guehi left Crystal Palace without any adequate replacement. Now, they had a replacement lined up, Igor from Brighton, and it didn't go through. That fell off as well. And then we got the here we go for Marc Guehi. Everyone sort of felt, even Liverpool fans, everyone that, Guehi's going to Liverpool. But Oliver Glasner, do you know what? Big up to him. I know Guehi is suffering. I know he's depressed. But ultimately, Oliver Glasner's looking out for Crystal Palace. Big up to Oliver Glasner for doing that. And shame on, Crystal Palace and the ownership and their sporting director, whoever is involved. Because this is 2 seasons in a row they've screwed Oliver Glasner like that, where they've lost players right at the end and they don't have the adequate replacement, and then they can't mount a serious, campaign for the season. And they're in Europe, they're in Conference League. I'm pretty sure they're going to try their level best to win that. This season they lost Eze, they lost so many other players as well, and they simply didn't want to, just get smashed like that right at the end. So big up to Oliver Glasner to be able to keep a hold of Marc Guehi. But I do understand that Marc Guehi's shattered. But look, in 6 months' time, less than 6 months' time, when the January window is open, he can renegotiate again. And maybe at that time, Crystal Palace can find an adequate replacement. Right now, I hope Marc Guehi can really play well for Crystal Palace, and the fans. They deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. But I do think Oliver Glasner, I know there's a lot of people saying manager should not have that much power. No, the manager was only looking out for his team, and he was looking out for the well-being of the fans. So big up to him for doing that. But I do think Oliver Glasner, I don't think he's going to be around at Crystal Palace for any much longer. I think he's starting to realize that he's bigger than the club and he's deserving of a better opportunity. What else do we have here? Marc Guehi, yep, that deal is off. Ben Chilwell to Strasbourg. We already know that from my main channel that covers Chelsea. Let's see what else is popping off. Rasmus Hojlund to Napoli. Wow, he arrived at Man United and absolutely flopped. Now he goes to Napoli and will face him. Chelsea Football Club will face Napoli in the Champions League. Player for Antonio Conte. Let's see what Conte can do with Rasmus Hojlund. Hojlund actually was doing okay in Serie A, and maybe that's the level for him. Lukaku's injured. 44 million buy option clause, so it's not even a guarantee. It's a 6 million loan fee to Man United, and then there is a 44 million buy option clause to become mandatory under certain conditions. So it will become mandatory if he triggers certain conditions. But yeah, Napoli player Rasmus Hojlund. Martial, Godo, and Julio Enciso now destination Strasbourg. So there you go. Julio Enciso to Strasbourg. Javi Galán to Nottingham Forest. Here we go. Well, that deal never happened. It ended up being Zinchenko. Victor Boniface, who had a lot of drama with AC Milan. For some reason, the medical didn't go through over there, and then AC Milan pulled the plug on him, and now he's a Werder Bremen player. Leverkusen, oh my God. We need to do a news in regards to Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag sacked, ladies and gentlemen, sacked after 2 matches. Incredible news. We need to cover that down the track as well. And Leverkusen is another team that has been decimated. Hincapié, then you've got Victor Boniface, Florian Wirtz, Frimpong, and now they've sacked Erik ten Hag. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Samuel Chukwueze to Fulham. Here we go. Wow. Once upon a time, touted as a very, very talented winger, still is. Villarreal days, I remember, obviously went to AC Milan, and Fulham get themselves a very nice winger. It'll be interesting to see, how he performs at Fulham and what Fulham's ambitions are this season. Fulham, they're a decent team, but they're always sort of lingering around in that mid-table vicinity. They're not really making a huge effort to enter into Conference League or Europa League. And Samuel Chukwueze, I guess he wants to make a name in the Premier League and see if he can get a transfer elsewhere after Fulham. Randal Kolo Muani has just signed his new contract as new Tottenham player. There you go, Kolo Muani. A lot of people have been talking about that. Spurs have 3 strikers. I've recently said, look, not that many teams out there have 3 strikers. Spurs only got Randal Kolo Muani because Solanke is injured. Dominic Solanke is injured. This is why, or else they would have just kept on. Kolo Muani was not even in their plans. So you need to understand, if it was just Richarlison and Solanke and they were fit, they would not have gone for Kolo Muani. And the fact that Solanke is most likely injured for a while, this is why they've done that. They can't afford to just have Richarlison. We, on the other hand, Chelsea Football Club, we didn't have to go to the market because we have Marc Guehi, so we called him back. People need to understand, these teams, generally, they don't operate with three talented strikers. They don't do that. You might have two talented strikers that, swap with each other, and then one sort of, a veteran that is happy to stay on the bench. You can't have three talented strikers. You cannot. You simply cannot. If you have a very young third choice, you'd rather want them on loan to get some minutes. So that's how I look at it. And that's how modern day football squad planning is. Exclusive Fulham agreed deal for Kevin, what's his name? What's his full name? Deal for Kevin. Also on player side, here we go. His name's Kevin. I forgot his last name, but another player for Fulham. Fulham, they've done some business right at the end. Marc Guehi, we've gone through that. Don't really care about that Benfica player. Victor Boniface is done. Just trying to go through all the other. Donnarumma, there you go. Donnarumma to City as well. So, yeah, Edison went to Fenerbahce, Donnarumma to Manchester City. I'm not really sure how much this is going to help them out, because ultimately, James Trafford, he was a good shot stopper. And Manchester City, I feel like they want a goalkeeper that can play out from the back, just like Edison. Edison was just a legendary goalkeeper in terms of his ability with the ball. Donnarumma, yes, he's going to be a better shot stopper than James Trafford, no problems. But is he going to be a huge upgrade? He's a good goalkeeper. Don't get me wrong. Donnarumma is a top goalkeeper. Is that what City needed? And what does it mean for James Trafford down the track? So we shall see how Donnarumma does for City. But City's problems are not going to end just because they got Donnarumma. City's got deeper problems than that. Galatasaray have got Ilkay Gündogan, ladies and gentlemen. Gündogan to Galatasaray, still wants to continue at top flight football. Obviously, Turkish heritage for Gündogan, returns to, I believe he's a fan of Galatasaray, and he goes back to Turkey now, and he's German international, obviously, but Turkish, heritage. Joins Galatasaray, and he still wants to continue at the top flight. Galatasaray, I don't know how they do this, man. Osimhen, Leroy Sané, Gündogan, they've done a whole heap of business. I think they really want to do something in the Champions League. They are in the Champions League. One eye definitely going to be with Galatasaray. Let's see what else is popping off. Igor deal, that's been knocked off. That didn't go through. Zaniolo to back to Italy, to Udinese. There was a lot of business that was happening right at the end. There was a lot of business. I think that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen, for all the important ones. Let me know your thoughts about some of the, the transfers that we've gone through. Any particular one that fancies you, that you're looking at and thinking, yeah, that's actually a smart deal. Let me know. Smash up the like button if you're here for the first time. Subscribe. Hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. Till next time. Take care. See ya. Bye.